So today I want to talk to you guys about my 10-year journey with unexplainable pain and how Dr. Lin helped me alleviate the pain and basically get back on my feet. So 10 years ago, this basically started. I remember sitting in a chair and I started to experience pain, and it started at the base of my skull, went down to my scapula and my lower back, and into my right arm. So it wasn't just the pain, but then the muscle groups around my shoulder complex basically started to shut down as well. Contracting the muscles was difficult. I started to develop atrophy in my right shoulder as well. You could tell the difference basically in both the right and the left arm. I thought it would go away, but then over the course of time, it actually just started getting worse. The pain increased, and contracting the muscle groups became more difficult. The worst thing basically happened a few days before my 21st birthday. I was ice skating and I had a tib fib fracture on my right leg, and I was casted up to my knee. When I got out of the cast, that was basically when everything just went downhill. My right leg basically became like, it was almost like a stump. So if I could explain it to you, it was like a pirate's leg, and I couldn't contract any of the muscles. And then after, basically, there was no contraction in the calf, the hamstring, the quad, the hip flexor. I started to experience this shooting pain as well in my leg. So now there was limited functionality in the muscles, and there was pain in both the lower and upper extremity. Life was very difficult at this point, and I would say my quality of life was like a 0 out of 10, and the pain was about a 15 out of 10. This is when my journey kind of began to find help, and I reached out to so many different practitioners, so many physical therapists and chiropractors, acupuncturists. I've seen them all. I've gotten like every test you can name in the book, and the only result that I really got from all of that is just confusion. Nobody knew what to do, and there was just so much time and money just spent down the drain. And this is probably one of the worst places to be if you're in there, because you become alone, and people, they don't believe, you know, you're in pain if all of these results are coming back negative, and everybody doesn't know what to do with you. Over, you know, the course of about 10 years, everything just got worse. About 2 years ago, my gait or my walking basically got to a point where I could barely walk. I couldn't do basic functions. Basically, outside of work, all I was doing was just laying in bed. I couldn't do sports, the things that I loved. I couldn't dance. I couldn't do just normal human things. And so about 2 years ago, I made a pretty big move to actually move down and come and see Dr. Lin. So I lived about 4 hours away. I'd seen, you know, his information floating around for about 4 years, and kind of did my research, but to be honest with you, it was more of just kind of a gut feeling. So I moved down here, I bet everything on Dr. Lin, which at the time, actually looking back, is very irrational, but it was the best move I ever actually made in my life. Day one, I walked into Dr. Lin's office, and I mean, I could barely walk, and I asked Dr. Lin, I said, you know, straight up, I said, hey, you know, I've been down the rabbit hole, I've seen all these different people, and it seemed like a common story to him. It was really weird. Can you help me? I was just straight up, can you help me? And he said, yeah, it just depends on how far you want to go. That was a different answer. I'd never really received that answer before from anybody else. So, I mean, I trusted him, and I went through in the process. After the first couple of months, I started to see the progress. Some of the pain started to alleviate, and I remember, like, it was probably month 3. I went to the ocean just one day just to watch the waves, and I was just in awe, and I had this sense of euphoria just come over me because it felt like I was actually progressing to somewhere, right? I was getting away from the pain, and I was getting to this land of peace. I was nowhere close to it, but I was actually making the steps, and I had the right person in front of me to guide me. At months 6 and 7, somewhere around there, I went for a jog again, something that I love to do. And when I was young, that was one of my favorite things to do. Dr. Lin, he kind of coached me to get up to a place where I could start running again. And I mean, it was like a mile, but that was a huge milestone from going from barely being able to walk to jogging. Month 12, I went on a hike. This was kind of my first dynamic environment of, you know, having the lower and upper extremity working together. I mean, that was one of the biggest milestones that I crossed. At month 17, which that's where I'm at right now, basically the lower and the upper extremity are, they're in sync. So I have basically full control, muscle groups firing good, and the pain, I would say I'm at about a 0, 1 out of 10 every day, which, I mean, I went from, unbearable pain to a place of peace. My quality of life is, now it's just, I'm at a point where, what do I want to do, right? I was at a place of just trying to manage where I was at, manage the pain, manage where I was standing, making sure I wasn't hit, right? If somebody shoves me, I would fall on the floor. And so now it's all these, well, what do I do with this body that I'm in? And I've gotten back to dancing, playing sports. I've always wanted to be like in a long-term relationship, and that's something that I've always struggled with, just because when you're in so much pain, you unconsciously, emotionally take it out on other people. And so I knew that sometimes I was hurting other people, so I kind of put that on the backdrop. There's another thing too, when you're in so much pain, is so much of your brain power or cognitive load is dictated towards managing that pain, being in a place of just controlling, your current state. And so I would say 95% of my brain power and cognitive load was dictated towards that. And so now I have all this empty free space of what can I do with it, right? And that's a place where, you've struggled for so long, and now you have 100% of your brain capacity. And so it's such a good place to be, and that's something I'll be able to share later on in life. So the other thing that I really enjoyed is Dr. Lin has an awesome personality. So every day you come in and he's always got a bright smile, always a story to tell, always something new to learn from the man. But the biggest thing outside of solving the problem, which is like the main thing, is the man's been down this journey before. He talks about it, and he kind of coaches you through when you're going from this place of pain to peace and what you experience. And that allowed me, his journey and sharing that with me allowed me to stretch even further. And if it wasn't for, both, obviously solving the problem, but also his ability to relate and talk about his journey, it allowed me to become vulnerable with him. And when you're able to become vulnerable with somebody who's been down this path, you're able to go so much farther. And so he kind of has this whole cohesion of, doing what he does, but also, him just being human is amazing. I also work with Dr. Long, so she's here at Rehab and Revive. She's absolutely amazing. So she's done some pelvic floor work with me and lymphatic drainage. So she's been awesome just getting me to my place I'm at right now. She's also got an amazing personality, so she's also awesome to work with. The front desk, Ashley and Sarita, are absolutely amazing. I'm always so grateful for them. They always tell me, we don't do much here, but they're the first point of contact, and they just make the whole place just feel like home. And they're able to empathize with you because they know that you're going through a lot. And they're just able to put a smile on your face every single day, or when you come in here. And that's so invaluable and something that's so overlooked, and I really appreciate both of them for that. They also got me a cool pair of Crocs, which is really cool. But if you're kind of like on the base of like, should I come and see Dr. Lin? Can he help me get out of pain? I could say this. I was there, I read all of his Yelp reviews, I did everything, and I was like, should I do it, should I not? And I look back, actually, I posted his review yesterday, and I was like, oh my gosh, I remember reading through all of these like pages and pages of reviews. Can he help me? And I would say if he could help me go from a place of so much pain and discomfort, like I was at a 15 out of 10 in pain. I could barely walk when I got in his door, and my quality of life was terrible. I couldn't do basic movements. Standing on 2 feet was tough, right? Sitting in a chair was difficult. If he could get me from there to a place of peace and having the ability to have my life back and be able to walk and play sports and do those things that I love, I don't think that there's really anybody who we can't help. And so if you're watching this video and you've been to an array of different practitioners and the traditional route, and I've been there, and I would highly, highly, highly recommend, like if you're watching this video, book an appointment with Dr. Lin. He will be straight up with you and tell you if he can help you or not. And I'm pretty sure he could help you. So yeah, book an appointment with him, and he definitely won't disappoint you. Thank you.